All right, everyone, we are here with a very special guest. We are joined by Kelley Flanagan. Welcome back to the show, Kelley.
Hi,
it's been
guys.
quite some time. It's been years since we've had you on. And the last time you came on, we talked a little bit about your relationships. And we are here to do the same thing.
I know. I was thinking, like, honestly, last time that whole situation kind of went viral, and now we're back here talking about another crazy moment. But
I don't know what's
we're
going
happy
on.
we're happy to have you back.
Yes, very happy to have you back.
We know from just some social media posts that you've shared recently that you went through a breakup, and that there's been some kind of crazy things that have happened during, since, and everything. And there's a story, and it's kind of been your life. So we kind of would just like to give you the floor and have you sort of tell us everything that's been going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, for the past over a year and a half, I was in a relationship, and I mean, big things were moving. I moved to Philadelphia. I moved in with this guy. I'm just going to give him a nickname of A, and we'll keep it at that.
Like Pretty Little Liars.
Right.
And I ended up moving there, and we had amazing times. I think at this point it's hard for me to even remember those good times, which is kind of sad, but it's my truth. I'm what the hell was real and what wasn't. But I'm not going to sit here and deny that we didn't have great times together. I mean, that's essentially why we moved in, but things moved really fast.
Where were you before you moved to Philly?
I was in Miami, and I never got rid of my apartment there, kind of as a safety net.
Yeah.
So I always had it. I just was never there. I completely moved into an apartment in Philadelphia with him, and things started getting bad. And to be honest, it was more of I was losing a part of me and myself. I felt like everything I accomplished in my life was I was losing it, I feel like I moved to Philly to be on this guy's page, and I was always on his terms, and I stopped doing so much of my work. I stopped doing so much influencing. I stopped seeing my friends as much. And I just felt I was who am I these days? I've accomplished so much for myself that made me so happy. And then I was just losing it all. And I think I had a really tough time. So I vocalized that, and we ended up breaking up in April. And he didn't necessarily want me to post it, and I didn't, out of respect. And I was okay, I'm not going to post it, but eventually I would have to. So I think the first instance of, I regret this, but giving him another shot, I had a call from TMZ end of April, and they said something along the lines of hey, we got wind that your ex was out telling people that he's single and that he took home a girl that night. And I was oh God, this is the last thing you want to hear about someone that you just dated. So I reached out and I said, hey, I got to announce that I'm single. I don't want to be hearing these things. I just got to do it. Yeah. I got to rip the Band-Aid off. And he convinced me to essentially give him another shot after that. And
so you guys got back together pretty much after that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there was definitely a month period, maybe a teeny bit more, but not much, that we were not communicating, no contact, we were done. And then he heard my perspective, and I kind of told him this is how I felt. I felt like I didn't know who I was. I felt like I lost myself. I felt like I just wasn't who I ever was before that. Mm-hmm. And he was I hear you. I now understand, and give me an opportunity to actually change that. Mm. And I was okay, fine. But this time, let's please take it slow. We jumped in and immediately moved in together. So that ended up happening. He said there was one thing. He was listen, we'll take things slow. I understand, but under kind of one rule. And I was sure. And he was we're not hooking up with anyone else. We're focusing on you and I, and kind of gave that perception. And I was yeah, I'm cool with that. I don't care. Yeah. I'm not going to go out and do all this crazy stuff. I barely go out.
Right. Yeah. Did you end up posting that you were single at any point? No.
Never. Mm-hmm. I was just more under...
I'm trying to remember. I can't remember if you did or not.
No, I never did. I never did, and I was letting time like kind of pass before I did. And then we started getting back together, and I was just under this, honestly, it was my idea. I was like, you know what, I'm not going to bring the pressure of social media back into this until like things are figured out. So I wasn't posting him as much, but we were definitely dating, like 100% dating. He would ask me questions like, have you told your friends? Have you told your family? Does everyone know around you? And I was like, yeah, like everyone knows. Yeah. You know, the people that are close to me, everyone knew. And it's not that I was like trying to hide him on socials. It was more so of like, I just didn't want outside noise. So I would post him on my stories like here and there and here and there. Like I wasn't like hiding it. It was more so of just like, don't focus your entire social media on that. So the whole TMZ thing happened and he denied it. Sent me like video proof of him walking into his building the night that was in question, which again, I didn't even really care because at that time we were broken up. I was like, do what you want. So I let it go and I was like, all right, whatever. Like it is what it is. Then fast forward to recently, I got a message from a burner number. God.
No, you're okay. Don't worry.
I don't even know why I'm crying.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Literally. Oh God.
You're
I don't know
fine.
why I'm crying. I like don't ever really cry either.
Well, it makes sense why you're crying.
Yeah.
I mean, you were in this relationship and you feel like you were manipulated and lied to and you feel incredibly disoriented from this relationship. So don't blame yourself.
He took a
for
lot
crying.
away from you.
I'm just like so confused on all of it. I think like the precedent that he would set in our relationship was like very, very like strict. Not strict, but like
Strict how? Like
he would say things like, never put yourself in a position that would like jeopardize our relationship. And I would be like, yeah, like I don't go out and put myself in bad situations. I barely go out. So it was always like conversations like that to be like, prioritize the relationship, never jeopardize it, like never put yourself in a setting that would jeopardize it. And
meanwhile, he was doing those things.
Well, that's what I eventually found out.
Right. But it's like, it can be so mentally like it fucks with your head so much when you are in a lifestyle, you're crushing it, you're doing so well, and you've built something for yourself, and then the person who is supposed to love you the most and be your biggest fan and support you takes those things and uses them against you.
Yeah, so it was like, so I get this burner and I was like, what is going on? And they're like, if you're still with this guy, he's essentially like highly, highly disrespecting you and cheating on you. And I was like, what the hell? And so I was like, what is this? And there was just like something that I felt this entire summer. And I was like, things weren't adding up really because he would go to like...
The classic dab. I'm like, sometimes you just need a little dab.
Yeah, I'm sure my makeup's all over the place.
No, you look beautiful.
Okay, I'm fine. But he was like going to, whether it was like Italy, Greece, LA, New York, and I would like... there would be things that weren't adding up to me, whether it's like he's not responding to me, he's not like texting me at night, or like just random girls following him. And I would ask him about it and he would make me feel like it was my followers that were following him.
Right.
And I was like, no, like I know who's my follower.
Did he have a private or public Instagram?
He had a private account for a while when we were dating. And then he said something along the lines or made me feel like it was his PR people that accidentally accepted everyone. And like
he has PR people
for his company.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, okay, I don't think your PR people are on your Instagram, like
right.
And you're like, these aren't my followers.
No, I know. They'll say follow back.
Yeah,
like immediately.
Yeah, right,
It's
exactly.
also
like, I don't, it's like, why do my followers need to be following your private Instagram?
Mm-hmm.
I think when I announced him a while ago that I was dating him, people did try to follow.
Totally.
And fine, but like these new ones, there was something suspicious.
Right.
I was like, and then like these girls I did like a deep dive. I was like, these girls are matching up with the guys you're going out with. Mm-hmm. Okay, like something's not right
and
here.
it matches the location, like a girl in Italy and you're in Italy, like but this isn't my follower.
What he had me believe is that when he went out, he would only say, hi, I'm A, nice to meet you, and that's it. Like he was so... he was so strict on our relationship that he was like, it's pointless, you know, to talk to girls. Like, I go out and I don't speak to another female. Like, that is the perception that I had and that he had me like believe. And to be honest, I thought it was a little weird because I was like, I have guy friends, like there's nothing wrong with that. But that's like kind of, I was like, oh, okay, like that's how he sees it. Like, okay. Never really understood it, but things just weren't adding up. So then I get the burner count and I was like, I have weird suspicions. Like, I have weird suspicions already. This is making it like my antennas go up. And then I find we moved into the apartment together. I moved in everything. I cleaned out every single drawer. I cleaned out everything. I moved everything in the apartment. And then jewelry shows up at the apartment. I'm packing to go back to Miami and I find like women's jewelry. And he was like, oh, it was from a Halloween party that I went to out in LA. I purchased it on Amazon. I said, great, let me see your order. He goes, the order's not here. And I was like,
oh my
God.
Convenient.
Of course it's
Right,
not.
of course.
Convenient.
It's not loading. The Amazon's not
So
loading.
weird. All my other ones are here.
So then the story changes to, oh, it must be old jewelry. And I said, how? I moved every square inch into this damn apartment. How? Please tell me how.
Like when I moved in here, I cleaned everything.
Every drawer, guys. I'm not kidding. Every single drawer I've cleaned.
Naturally moving into an apartment as you would. So like.
Yeah. And so I was like, this doesn't make sense. So my antennas are like open. And I fly back to Miami. I go to an event and there's this influencer, we'll call her B if I have to. I see her in an event and I know she used to have like a fling with him. And I always kind of like avoided her. I was never rude to her. I was never mean to her, but I avoided her. And she has like similar friend groups and I felt bad. I was like, man, like we're in a group talking as a circle and she's like outside the circle. That actually makes me feel bad. I don't give a shit if you had something with the guy that I'm dating. So I came home that day and I had a conversation with him and I was like, oh, I ran into B. You know, I feel bad. I want to start being like nicer to her. There's no reason. And I could like tell his energy was off when I said that. And I was like, what's going on here? I know she tried to follow him this summer, or she followed him this summer. And I asked him about it and he told me, oh, I just talked to her for 2 seconds. I told her I was dating you and that was it. That was it.
Did he follow her?
No. And he would like say things to me too, like, you shouldn't worry who's following me. Like, you should worry about who I'm following. And I was like, come on.
Right. Yeah,
So he's like planting that, knowing he's not going to follow the people he's talking to back.
Correct. And so,
what a wild thing to say to try to get you off guard. Like, what?
Yeah. And so then I had a mutual friend put us in contact and she was like, she sent me all the receipts. She said, Kelley, there were a couple of times I ran into him this summer and I'm not going to lie, he was very handsy with me. He was telling me that he was single and he was taking selfies with me. Here's our text messages. He invited me to like a 50-year-old guy's birthday party, sent me a black car to pick me up.
What? She went to the party?
Yeah.
Damn.
She didn't.
And he was just saying like he's single the whole time.
Yeah. I think he was trying to act like a little bit weird, knowing that I probably run into her at a lot of events. So he was like, he would say things to her like, oh, well, I talked to Kelley today. But in reality, we were in communication every single day. But he would be like, no, I'm single. But like, you know, I talked to her today. So I don't know, like that. And I think that's why she didn't really push on it too much. But she ran into him like another time in the Hamptons, like now in August. So this is a different time. And
but as in your mind, you guys are together.
100%.
Yeah, 100%.
He would like ask me nonstop, like, are you telling your friends? Are you telling your family? Like, made sure I was going around telling all of
Everybody
my
that
people.
you guys were like
all
good
of my
and together.
people.
Right.
Yeah. And there was other red flags too, because he was like, you should post me. And I was like, again, I don't have an issue posting you. I'm just not going to make you my entire page. And then, so he would be like pretty big on being like, post me. We were with each other for 4th of July in the Hamptons. So I posted him. And then I was like, thinking he's so adamant about me posting, but like he didn't repost me or anything.
Right.
Like why?
Right.
And then I would ask him about it and he would be like, well, I was like 15 stories down. That's not even like special.
What?
Yeah. And I was like, whatever. Like at the end of the day,
You had to be the number one. Stories expire at a time.
God.
How are you supposed to make sure he's the first slide?
yeah. So it was always just like excuses now that I think
Yeah.
about it. Like I was just so manipulated in my mind. But so he runs into her in August and he's still very handsy with her, hanging out with her family at her table, all this stuff. And I was like, damn. So she's sending me all the proof, and I go to him and I was like, do you want to be honest here? Like, just be honest with me.
Yeah.
And like not telling him that I had freaking screenshots of everything.
Right.
And
But you always say, like, you have an opportunity to actually tell me the truth right now, so here it is. You know?
Well, I kept saying, if you want me to have 1 ounce of respect for you, 1 ounce, make it make sense in my mind.
Yeah.
Make all of this make sense.
Just own up now.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And like still, if he owns up, you're not going to really respect him. But in some way, you're going to be like, okay, well, he told me the truth.
yeah.
I think I would have
You know, like you're still going to be like, fuck you for doing all of that.
Yeah.
Don't respect you for doing any of that. But here's the truth.
Yeah.
100%. And that's happened in like my past relationships too, where like I really haven't held resentment because I was like, at least you're honest. At least I know like going forward that like you will tell me the truth. You know, like I think that's just big for me. So that situation happened. And then I was like, you know what? I don't give a shit if I look as crazy as could be right now. I need to know how far deep this goes. So I started reaching out to like mutual girls that honestly, like I didn't even really know that well. And I was like, do you guys know anything about this? I was like, do you know anything about this? This is kind of the facts that I have. And it's almost like every corner that I looked to, things were coming out. So one of the girls was like, you know, he's been hitting on this girl. And I was like, she gave me the name and I was like, his ex? I was like, his ex? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, what the hell? So then I talked to the ex and she was like, yeah, he was waiting for me outside of a bathroom. And he was like, we need to talk. We should get drinks, yada, yada, yada. Like getting handsy again.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I'm thinking, how deep does this go? I just ran into my ex at Fashion Week in New York. He came up to me and he said, do you feel comfortable talking to me? And I was so respectful towards the new relationship I'm in. And I said, no.
Yeah.
And that is it. That night, I got a 20-minute lecture of how disrespectful I was. How disrespectful I was because I verbalized words.
Yeah.
But in reality, what he's doing is going and like hitting on his ex, getting handsy, asking
And
him
what are
to
you
drink.
supposed to do? Like your ex, like are you supposed to just run away and say no words? Like then you're just like disrespectful kind of like as a person, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If like someone comes up to you and you verbalize like, hey, no, I don't feel like this is respectful.
Yeah.
That's the appropriate thing to do. Not
saying
look at
an
them and
actual
run in the other
sending a
direction when you're supposed to
boundary.
just say no words and run away. Then you look like a weirdo. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you can't speak. But yeah, you just set a boundary by being like, hey, I don't find this to be respectful. Like, no, I'm not going to like step aside and have a conversation with you, which is the respectful thing to do. It seems like a lot of it was like projection on you of really everything he was doing. He was so worried you were doing because he was doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like that's, I think, oh God, I think that's why I'm like so confused by everything. Because I'm like, how deep did this go? Like how like confused
how
was-
far back
yeah.
from the beginning of your relationship? Because there was a period of time when you guys were together and then broke up and you're really finding out about things just this past summer. But what about the beginning of it all?
So the beginning, it just like the way that I felt, I was like, we were definitely spending more time apart. And I was like, wait, so do I have to be tied at your hip in order for you to respect me? And then like after I posted, you know, that we broke up, I was like, screw it. I'm completely done. I have no idea who this person is. No clue. More things started coming out and girls were messaging me. I saw him on September 5th. He left a bar with a guy and a group of girls. And I was like, September 5th, I went back to my text messages and I was like, he was at his friend's house, like brushing his like daughter's hair. And then, so then I started like doing a deeper dive and I see he sent me a picture at like 10:30 and it was a picture of art and he was like, new art for the apartment. And I looked at the picture location. I just swiped up and I was like, did he just send that to me when he was at the bar?
Right.
Like trying to like confuse me to still say that he was at his buddy's house, but in reality, you're out.
Reality's at the bar.
And then like other girls came out and were like, we didn't know. I saw him leaving a bar hand in hand with a girl earlier this summer. And I was like, holy shit, this
It's
goes
always like
deep.
after you post the breakup that the stories come out too, or like the girl's like, oh well, now it's over. So I was afraid to tell you before.
Yeah.
But
And I'm sure
now
there's so
like
much
here's
more.
all
Right,
this,
especially if
that
he's
was happening.
going around telling people he's single, so nobody feels like they should come and tell you, but really because he's telling everyone he's single. But you know, you're not posting him too much because also you probably don't want to like make it like if you guys are trying to work through things as well, you're not going to be posting him constantly, especially if he's the 15th slide. Then he's going to get mad he's the 15th slide as well. I mean, it seems like this guy is sort of like a serial cheater and also manipulator and projector, just like all of the above towards you. And I feel so sorry and I feel bad for you because I feel like it's such a disorienting experience that a lot of people can really relate to. It's like, you're like, who was this person and who was I? Like, you know, on top of not even knowing the person you were with, you also feel like you don't know yourself because you're like, how did I not see this?
I like literally look back on it and like I can't even remember the good times because I was like, I think it was all just fake. Like not one part of it was real. Like I don't know how else to like feel, but this has like never happened to me to like this extent. I think that's why I'm like, holy shit. Like this goes deep.
Do you think there was like a love bombing element when you like first started dating?
Of
like
course.
It was,
I took it as like, oh my God, he's so intentional. Like he like knows what he wants. Like I met him a couple years before and like he was very it kind of looked like he like knew what he wanted and was going after it no matter who was in the way, like that kind of mentality. And I was like, I thought it was kind of attractive. But now I was like, now that I'm hearing
right now it's like maybe that was a sign.
I'm like, wait, I think this is going on with every girl. So it's just it's
like you meant like in pursuing you, like you
like
the way
it's
he
just
pursued
like
you
that's
thought,
just who he is. It's like he comes on strong, he comes on like very blunt and very like narrow to be like, I know what I want and I'm gonna go after it. You know, but I thought it was just with me and I thought I was like special. Well, no, my ass isn't special.
Well, you are special.
Thank you.
He's an idiot, obviously. But I feel like that is a situation that happens often with women where you're like, oh my God, like he wants me so bad, like he's so assertive. And it's like, oh, well, now he's doing this at the bar with this girl and waiting outside this bathroom and all of these other instances.
He openly, like, when I was like, just tell me the truth, what has been going on, he openly started admitting like some things, but it was like very, very small. He was like, picked up a girl's number in June at the bar when I was like at the bar in Philly. And I was like, okay. He's like, when I was at DC, I got another girl's number, but I didn't go to dinner with her. I went with like other guy bankers. And then she texted me after and said, you know, don't leave. And I was like, you, at this point, you would need to give me a lobotomy to literally believe anything that is coming out of your mouth. I think that you went to dinner with this girl and then she was texting you after you left the city. Like, it just goes so deep.
Also, getting a girl's number, you're not going to be like, that's okay. Like, that's grounds for leaving the relationship. You don't get a girl's number and then say, oh, no, it's okay, I'll stay. What?
Oh, I didn't text her.
No.
Okay, well, why are you asking her for her number?
That's an absolute no. I'm gone.
And then he openly told me in June he picked up a girl's number and she was asked, it's always these girls were coming on to him. Okay, one.
Yeah.
And then,
I'm sure.
which I know is not necessarily his personality.
Right.
And then it was, this girl wanted to get like lunch and coffee the next day, but I never texted her back. And I was like, again, like I can't believe one
so
word.
Like now he's like fielding all these inquiries.
Right. And like, oh, how many numbers are you collecting?
Like, how many people wanted to hang out with you?
Yeah, right. And it's also kind of like what it sounds like he was saying to you where you're like, you know, don't put yourself in situations to be hit on or whatever it is. But it's like, how many situations is he putting himself in to get these numbers, get asked to go to lunch and coffee? How are you even getting that far to be asked to go to lunch and coffee?
I completely agree. And I had a conversation with my brothers, and my brothers could be kind of like blunt and honest. They're like, Kelley, you're dating a guy who's going out, call it 5, 6, 7 nights a week. And they're like, what the hell do you think he's doing?
Right.
And I was like, you're right. But like I was just so like manipulated in my head that I was like, no, like he's not that person.
And you can't blame
because I got faulted for everything.
You can't blame yourself in a situation like that. Like people can really make you feel a certain way in your brain that you believe. And then when you're out of it, you're like, oh my God, what was I thinking? But like your brothers said, like now you're probably looking back like, why did he want to go out 7 nights of the week? Like what, you know, like if he like wants to grab a drink with his friends or whatever, why can't you do that at home? You have to do that 7 nights a week. Like
he would always say
like,
he was going to dinner work things, dinner with the boys, dinner with the boys. So it was every night dinner with the boys or like dinner with like this.
I'm networking.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It's just networking, babe.
I just feel so, I guess at the end of the day, like having all of it come out, I just feel so stupid. Like so stupid.
That is the worst feeling. And there is just truly no reason for you to feel stupid about it, because at the end of the day, like he took complete advantage of like the kind heart that you have.
Right.
And that's like it doesn't make you stupid.
Yeah.
It makes you a kind, loving human being. And he took advantage of that and probably has done it to many before. Like,
Right.
that's just like, he can see that and smell it out and knows that that's like the moves he's going to make. It makes my blood boil, because I think there's nothing worse than that person who like has to diminish their partner in order to like build themselves up.
Right. Like
Yeah.
he, and I think Fran mentioned this earlier, like he should have been your biggest fan. Like,
Yeah.
Kelley, you have so much going for you. You are so intelligent. Like, you should conquer all of these
Yeah.
things in your life, not try to be like,
Right. Oh my
no,
God, you have this
shouldn't do
this
that.
trip. Like, you should absolutely
should
go. That'd be
go,
so
like-
great for you.
Like, he shouldn't be
Yeah.
making you do like, no, you shouldn't be working on those things. Like, you're with me. And like, and also like to your point of saying that you feel stupid, it's like, yes, that is such a normal reaction to blame ourselves for that sort of thing, but it really was just him taking advantage of you. You're not stupid at all. Like, not even the slightest bit. He's a piece of shit. That's what it is. We can call him names, but do not call yourself names that put you down. And it's probably a reflection of how he treated you and why you're putting yourself down, because in some ways he made you feel this way about yourself. But you are none of
It's
those
next
things.
level
You-
lying. It's
yeah.
like so many layers of lying that like you can't even fathom that people make shit up like this, and then you're like, wow, you really like went into detail on that lie.
Yeah.
And because you are such a kind person as well, it's hard to understand that someone would be lying, so you believe them.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh well, why would someone lie about that? Well, there are bad people out there that lie about
Why would
things,
you be
but you're
sending
not
me
one of them, you
pictures
know?
of a small child's piece of art and
Right.
be at the bar at the same
Exactly.
time?
It's because
Like,
people are so
crazy.
manipulative like that. But a lot of kind, good-hearted people are going to end up believing people because that's what they would like. They see good. It's like you can't fault yourself for wanting to see the good in somebody and not automatically believing he's some evil guy.
Yeah. So at this point too, I was like, okay, like one of his other exes reached out to me and she's like, hey, let me know if you want to talk. And at this point, it's crazy, guys, because he had me fully convinced. One, I do know that he hasn't like brought a girl home since he was 18 years old and he's now 35. So again, like he would kind of make me feel guilty that I've had other relationships and would kind of be like, don't you feel great that like there's no other girl that you have to worry about? And great, yeah, that feels great. But like, again, that's not necessarily truthful. I talked to his other ex and she started calling.
you mentioned multiple exes.
Yeah, right.
I know.
I don't know what
Okay,
he's
Like, just
talking
because they
I
didn't
don't know what
meet his
he's talking about.
family,
Yeah.
like, is
I don't
that
know
what
what
it
he's
is?
talking about. I'm hearing about multiple exes.
Right. I think maybe he considers like not an ex if they didn't meet his family.
Yeah, I
Like,
guess.
they clearly had some sort of relationship with him.
Yeah. So that one's funny. But anyway, so she reaches out to me, or we're talking and everything, and I'm asking her, she's like sending me screenshots of like I love yous and all of this stuff, and I was like, wait, what? Like he was saying I love you and all this stuff. He almost made me believe that like he hasn't really said like I love you to anyone else. I was like, what the hell at this point do I believe? And then there's one thing which I'm not going to accuse him of, but I will say that I have a suspicion that this could be him. I asked her, I said, when you guys broke up, did you get a bunch of call from burner numbers non-stop? And she goes, yes. I said, okay, because I'm going through the same experience. And I said, when it's actually funny, in August when he ran into that girl, I went fucking crazy and I called him 8 million times. He didn't answer. I blocked him. I'm like, screw you. I'm done with this shit. There's sketchy shit going on. Like I was reciprocating the crazy, which I regret so much because like I'm usually not that person, and it's like I almost turned into this crazy person like trying to meet him back. And to be honest, I also felt like there was so much hypocrisy in this relationship that instead of like when I came back into it, instead of just being like, no, I'm gonna be myself, I almost was like, fine, like you want to see how it feels, and I almost started
totally
going
get
crazy
that.
and
No,
doing it back.
Yeah.
So I asked her about the burner numbers. Back in August, when I like blocked him on everything, he started calling me, or he couldn't call me, and I kept getting calls from like a burner number. And finally I answered and I was like, hello, and it's him. He's like, hey, this is my work number, save it. And I was like, okay, cool. We talked and he was like, but this phone is very expensive. Can you please call me on my regular number, unblock me and call me? And I said, fine. And then I was thinking, I go, he doesn't have a work phone. What do you mean your work number? How are you getting a work number?
Right.
And so I literally have it saved in my phone as his work number. But then I'm thinking back and I'm like, he doesn't have a work number. So then I get like suspicious and I'm like, oh my God, is this why I keep getting so many random phone calls at 2 a.m. and all throughout the day? Like, and the numbers would change, by the way. So then I just started essentially blocking them. But I got this one and it said, I think he knew that I was going out and asking people. Like, I knew these people that I was asking. I went like haywire and I was like, I will call on everyone in my phone book and I don't give a shit at this point. So I think word got around to him. Oh, she's digging. And so I got a text message. I don't know, again, I'm not accusing this of him, but it's just weird how this is playing out, that it said, hey girl, I have some tea on your ex A. And I didn't respond. And I was like, is he trying to like bait me? Like, what the hell is going on here? So I didn't respond. Block that burner number. So he texts me on Sunday. Like, this hasn't stopped. He has texted me on Sunday and I could read it to you.
This past Sunday.
Yeah. It's today. 3 days ago. 3 days ago. And this one says, now I'm getting the accusations that I am the one cheating. He sends me a screenshot that he supposedly got from a burner number. Okay.
Right.
My opinion is that he is texting himself.
Totally.
Seems like it.
Totally.
Okay. What up, stud? Got your number through a mutual friend. I see Kelley is newly single, but I never knew she was in a relationship. I've been hitting it here in Miami since August. My bad.
Let me tell you also that it's like,
what?
Objectively a hilariously written text message.
Correct. Yeah.
Where it's like you're not.
What up,
like
stud?
Some other dude in Miami isn't texting your ex being like, what up, stud?
No, like what?
That is like, that's like an element to his ego where he texted himself and called himself a stud.
So
like
true.
he was like, oh, like
of course
a
he would call me-
stranger would totally call me a stud, so I'll call myself stud.
Right. That is so absurd. That's such a
Not
level
even like,
of,
hey man, you know?
Yeah, just like a hey bro.
Yeah.
Like he had to use stud.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yep.
insane. And
Yeah.
obviously a text message he sent himself.
Yeah. And then
I hope you're just ignoring all his messages at this
I
point.
ignore everything. I ignore everything. And at this point, there has been like zero accountability taken on his end, which shocks me. At this point, just take accountability and be like, I'm sorry, I fucked up. I'm sorry that I hurt you. Like, end of story.
Yeah.
There has really been none of that. After I broke up with him, a lot of the times when I would try to break up, I tried to break up with him several times this summer because I knew sketchy shit was going on. And he would be like, no, you're an avoidant. We need to communicate about this. We can get through this. And like, it would kind of like manipulate me back into it. But I knew sketchy shit was going on and I would try to get out. And then he would like convince me out of it. And like, I feel like I'm weak on, like, I have to take accountability on that. But so then I was like, listen, I'm done. He like accepted the breakup. And then the next day he's calling me. I said, unless you want to admit to everything and come clean, there's no reason to be calling me. No reason. And he goes, no, I have to tell you something. Okay, fine. So I answered the phone. I was like, yeah, what's up? And he was like, I just hate the way you perceive me. I hate the way that you view me. And I was like, is that all he cares about? He literally does not care about, like, he may have said, I'm sorry, but like at the end of the day, the only thing he really cared was the way I was perceiving him, how everyone else perceives him. And I was like, this is wild to me.
Yeah.
It got so bad. And I was like, I was screaming. I was like, are you effing kidding me? You just called me to tell me the only thing you give a shit about is the way that I perceive you. You don't want me to view you this way?
You did this to yourself.
Yeah.
I view you this way because this is you.
Yeah. And so then after he does that, he knows I'm ignoring him. I'm not calling him, whatever. He calls 2 of my brothers. Like, it's just not stopping. He calls 2 of my brothers and he's like, you know, I feel bad for my sister and my mom. And by the way, I love his family. So this story goes, he goes, I feel bad. They're so sensitive. They're getting so much hate. And my brother goes, my brother was dating like a very famous influencer. So he understands how this world works. And he goes, just out of curiosity, what are they getting? Maybe 1 or 2 messages, if that. And he was like,
no one.
So instead of,
who's reaching out to his family?
I don't know. But anyways, if that is
Honestly,
going on, please don't reach out to his family.
The internet is wild. Like, they really do reach out to
Yeah.
anybody.
Yeah. But there was one article on Us Weekly. This wasn't blown up. This wasn't something big. And my brother's like, I don't understand. Anyways, his family's great, amazing. Please don't message his family. This is more of between him and I. But he was trying to like almost, I feel like, manipulate the situation, even with my brothers. Instead of taking accountability, he's trying to make my brothers feel bad, to say, to have your sister stop talking. Right. I saw her post something on TikTok to say, you know, this guy's not taking accountability. She might speak out more. So he calls my brothers, trying to, in my eyes, manipulate them to feel bad for his sister and his mom, and say like, they're so sensitive. And then that didn't work with my brothers.
Right. For like, and then he thinks like your brothers will go to you and be like, oh, maybe you
like,
just let it die. You know, like it's, not
how my family works. My brothers are like, do whatever the fuck you want.
Right.
So then he tries with that. Then he goes on to, well, you know, my business. And my brother was like, okay, that's more concerning, and I could definitely understand that.
Right.
Like, and he was like, but at the end of the day, like, you know what you sign up for when you date a girl like this, who's like influencing for her. That's her job. And he was like, honestly, I never really thought about that. And it's like, I don't
sorry, like that is what your job is, and you're sharing your life and your personal life, and it's always just crazy to me too. Like, I don't know, men somehow try and separate like their relationships and business and all these things. It's like, well, maybe don't act like a dickhead, and then you're like, like, and your job won't get pulled into it. I don't know. Like, that's like now you're gonna cry about like you know, it's gonna affect my business. Well, it's like, okay, maybe think about that beforehand.
Right. You probably should have thought about the way you carry yourself as a person in all aspects of life, rather than just your business. Like, who you are as a person is going to affect your work.
But I'm not gonna lie, he's very good at putting on like a facade.
Yeah.
Very good.
Clearly
very
so.
good. And honestly, I think like right now, I'm like, I really don't even think he gives a shit that he hurt me in any degree by our phone calls. I really don't think he cares. I think the only thing he cares is he doesn't have control in how people are going to see him.
He's worried that if you talk and you do this, that like people are going to look at him differently, and how it's going to affect that.
I think like that's the only thing in his life is maintaining control. And the way people perceive him is the only thing he cares about. Right. I don't think he gives two shits. I think he'll go around and be like, we weren't dating. Like, he'll make up every excuse in the book to like try to say that
she moved in, but what's no big deal?
Yeah.
No, it is so wild though, because it's like, how does someone who cares so much about what people think about them conduct themselves in such a shitty way, right? It's like, if you care so much about what people think of you, then you should probably carry yourself in a way that people are going to think about you in a good light. Like, I don't know, you know what I mean?
You know what hurts my feelings the most is I feel like this was so prevalent that a lot of people around me, like even some mutual friends and like people that I know, maybe like more his friends or whatever, but like I feel like a lot of people knew this was going on. And like, I had to find out from a total stranger that doesn't know me. Like, no one had my back. Right. No one. Like a burner account. A burner account. And these random girls that I don't even really know.
No. Right. And that hurts too, because it's like, you always think when you immerse your lives together, you know each other's friends, you're all hanging out. So it's always just like a gut punch when you're like, oh, like all of your buddies know you act like this.
Yeah.
Right.
And they just let it happen and nobody says anything. And I'm the one that gets hurt from it.
Right. So, did any of your friends know what was going on that didn't tell you?
No, I mean, we have like mutual ones.
Yeah, just like more like the ones that were involved in his life.
Yeah. But like, no, like my best friends that would have my back. No, I mean, I asked them after, I was like, did you guys, like, are you guys shocked? Because I would always go to them and I was like, there's zero possibility that this guy would ever cheat. Like, that's genuinely how I felt. Mm-hmm. That's what I would say. I was like, go live your life. Like, I know you wouldn't do that. And I don't think it was going on for maybe a full year because I was by his side.
Right.
You know, but I don't know. It's wild. Like, it's hard. I feel like my brain is like scrambled because I'm like, I can't conceptualize like what was real, what was fake. Like, I think everything was fake. Like, I can't sit here and like even compute being like, what the hell did I just go through?
Right. Yeah.
You know, like everything is just so confusing.
It's so hard. Yeah. It is so hard because it makes you question everything.
Yeah.
Right. 100%. It does make you question everything. And there's no like, he's not gonna... If he's not going to take any accountability, it's just such a hard thing, because you kind of have to like move on and know, you know, I may never get the full story.
Right.
And what's crazier to me too is like, honestly, I'm not someone that ever goes out. Like I go out maybe like once or twice a month, or like events like Fashion Week stuff. But I really don't go out. And like one night I was just like, I just want to go out with my friends. I went with like 2 married couples that have been together for 12 years, 2 people that he mutually knows and is friends with, one of my girlfriends who is single, and 2 brothers that I've known for years that are nice guys, whatever, but like nothing to be threatened about. So I went to this dinner, and I was, again, the one that got the lecture to be like, you're going to a sponsored dinner. And I was like, a sponsored dinner? Like, what are you talking about? But he's going out and literally every night picking up rounds and rounds and rounds of drinks for like all these girls' tables. Like, just none of it, like literally none of it makes sense to me.
It's just
I was so
complete
fooled.
opposites.
Yeah, it really
complete opposite.
Right, it really
situation.
feels like that, and I feel so sorry that you went through that and that you feel so disoriented from this experience. But I hope that you take the time just for yourself now, because it feels like he took control of you throughout this whole relationship in this 1.5 or 2 years, however long. So it's like you should take the time for yourself to do the things that you always wanted to do that he kind of like stopped you from doing.
To be honest, that's like the main reason why I did this podcast, is because I almost felt like, again, whether it's intentional or not, I almost felt like I was like silenced. Like I was like, even till this day, he's calling my brothers to tell me to stop talking. Like he's trying to like now say that I'm the one cheating, like all this stuff. Like I almost felt like I was being silenced for the past 1.5 years. And like I got to a point where I was like, fuck this. I'm doing this for myself. I'm going to go speak. Like, this is about me. There's no way you're stopping me. If you want to throw whatever the hell you're going to throw at me, go ahead. Yeah, like at this point, I don't care.
Taking the power back in yourself and being like, fuck you. I'm doing what I want to do now, and you cannot control that. Yeah. Because he is going to now spiral because he's losing all of that control. Yeah. But it just shows the kind of guy that he is, really.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's tough. How do you like, it's a tough question, but because it's still obviously actively going on, but how are you kind of feeling now that you are separated from it a little bit? Like, I know it is so disorienting and confusing, but do you feel like you are kind of getting yourself back a little bit?
Not really, because I haven't had like time to even do that.
It's still so new.
It's still like so fresh for me that I haven't. I know I will, and I know I'll be like fine at the end of the day, but I just know that I need to like focus on myself, like get myself back to like a place where I was happy, hang out with my friends, do things that I love. Right. And that's like the only thing I can do at this point, you know, like what else do I do? Like, I don't know.
Well, it's great to have like that, you know, you have a great friend support system, you have a great family support system. Right. So it's always a time like you lean on them and they'll support you and be there for you, and like you'll get yourself back, you know?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And you've built a great career for yourself. Yeah. And it's time to just take that.
I was going to say, immerse yourself in your job, fucking crush it, get some deals, go on some trips.
Yeah, like you're going to,
you know, put yourself out there.
Yeah, you're only going to end up on the better side of this. Yeah. And for him, he's just not. Like, you can't keep up that kind of lifestyle with being that kind of person, in my opinion.
There's definitely like a feeling of relief that I feel, even though it's like still so heartbreaking. There's definitely like a feeling of relief where I like almost feel like kind of free. Yeah. So I've started to feel that free. A little bit. I know.
I know it's hard to see right now because you did love this person. Yeah. So you're kind of like mourning the loss of this person that didn't even really exist.
Yeah. I think that's the most confusing part. I'm like, what? What?
It is, and it will be hard and stick with you for a while, but you will.
You know what's crazy?
Get out of it.
Like, both of you guys just got married, right?
I just got married. She's in April.
Okay, and you're in April. So I remember going to like other influencer parties with my girlfriends that are married, and like I guess at this point, like I'm not married. Like I always used to try to convince myself. I think one thing I would use is like, it takes a lot in relationships, and like you have to put in a lot of effort and all of this stuff. So I like would go around and ask my girlfriends, I was like, how do you know? Like, how do you know you're with the right person? Like, I know in marriage people say it takes a lot, but like I guess I haven't been at that point in my life where I know what too much is, you know, like it takes a lot, but like I just almost convinced myself to be like, well, relationships are hard. It takes a lot.
Yeah, I would almost say
it's
the
opposite.
I would say
I
the
know,
opposite
it's-
of
yeah,
that.
I was
Like
gonna
it
say
should
the
be
same. It should be
easy.
easy.
Like you shouldn't be feeling like it's a lot.
Yeah.
Or giving yourself a lot. Like I feel like I hear that expression a lot where people are like, I felt like relationships are about giving up things and stuff, and it's like for me and friend, like it's like the opposite of that. Like, oh, this is so easy to be with you,
Okay. Well, those weren't the conversations we would have. It was the opposite.
No, it's tough
I mean,
when you're having like when you're not. Well, when one person is sacrificing a lot of their life and
Right.
the other person isn't doing anything, then like for him, it's like, oh well, you're gonna move and you're gonna be here and you're not like really going to be, you're here in your career, but like I don't really want you going up. I kind of want you staying where you are. You know, it's like,
what's crazy? So the influencer girl that I reached out to, her and I started speaking, and I was like, I just don't understand why this kind of personality, like to me, we would kind of have fights about it. I was like, you need a girl that you fully support and that she's at home doing whatever, but he keeps going for these like strong-willed girls that like have things going for themselves. I still can't conceptualize why that is.
I'm no therapist, but it is such like it's such a power thing to me. Like I think it's almost enticing for someone like that to, one, they want to be able to say they can get that strong-willed, independent, successful woman because they, he's like, look at how great she is. I'm going for her and I can prove that I can get her. But then he doesn't want her to stay that way once he gets her.
Right.
Yeah, and that's
such a good point.
exactly how I felt.
Yeah. And I feel like going back to the question where you said you asked like your friends who are married or like, us, it's like what I've noticed in my relationship now is that like my life has only improved greatly. Like my career, like I feel like I've never been more successful and better and have only been thriving since this relationship. And it's like not just because of the relationship, but like because how I feel about myself. And I feel like in the right relationship, people will you'll feel that way. Like you won't feel like how he's making how he made you feel, like turning down things or turning down opportunities for yourself. Like he'll make you feel like, oh my God, go get that. Like he sees you as someone who deserves all those things because he sees all those qualities in you. You know what I mean? Like he should only be like propping you up.
Well, that makes me excited because I felt the complete opposite. It was almost like everything I had going for. I remember when we were breaking up, he goes, "Do you think we would have worked out if we met when we were younger?" And I said, No. And he goes, "Well, I do, before you had like your law stuff going and the bachelor stuff going." I was like, "Well, wait,
what?"
So you're saying you think
so like when I like
get stripped
everything
of everything.
that's made me.
Right.
Yeah.
And you just need to hold on to those things, and you've worked so hard for all of it. It's like, don't let that go just because of a guy who's insecure, who wants to be like the powerful guy. It's like,
I always felt like I had to be standing behind him. Like I could, he like didn't, I felt like he didn't want me to shine. Like he wanted me to be placed behind him.
No, a guy who's secure in himself is gonna want to be like, yeah, this is my fucking girl. Like
I thought
she's awesome.
I definitely felt like there was insecurity, but I was like, oh, once he gets comfortable and like sees who I am and sees how like this business stuff is run, like he'll be cool with it. And to be honest, I will give him credit. He did like loosen up a teeny bit on that, and I was like, oh, okay, like as we just keep going, like he'll get more
like, he'll get
comfortable.
better.
You don't have to give him credit for that because it doesn't seem like he really did much there. He shouldn't be given credit for doing that. It's like that should just be how you are. You know what I'm saying? It's like giving guys credit for being like, I'll give him it's like, no, like that's just being like a normal, respectful person, you know?
Totally.
You guys can tell my brain's still
and you shouldn't blame yourself at all. Like it's it sucks. It's so unfortunate that like people, I always am just like more of like a psychological thing. I'm like, how do people end up like this? Like that, don't you become interested in like where did you what happened? Like where, like I'm so interested.
When did that switch flip?
Right. It's like such an interesting thing to like, because there are reasonings behind it, right?
But I listen to those books like all the time, and I always like to know. When I was in law school, I took a genetics in the law class because I always like to know like why are you the way you are, you know? And it's actually so interesting to hear those things. I mean, a lot of it's childhood stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like even just separating you from this situation, like aren't you
Yeah.
kind of like, what is up? Like I need to know what happened here.
Right. Totally. It does. It,
But
it
you
does
know what?
make
When
think
I
about
got
that.
introduced to him through mutual friends, I like noticed some things, and they would just tell me he's very old school. He's very old school, and then I started realizing, and I was like, I don't think this is old school mentality. I think it's a sense of control. Like that's it. And I should have noticed the first red flag was someone asked me, our mutual friend, we were in Italy, and she goes, Kelley, if you ever gotten the opportunity with Dancing with the Stars, would you do it? And I was like, absolutely. Like, why wouldn't I? That sounds so cool. And they asked
Oh
him.
my God, he sounds like he would hate dancing.
Okay. So she asked him, she was like, what do you feel about that? And I remember he looked at me and he was like, enough with this fame bullshit. You got to start focusing on being a mother and a wife. And I
Oh
was
my God.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
And again,
I just got chills.
Oh my God.
I
I would just like, oh my God, I can't even imagine. Like, I cannot even imagine.
I just remember thinking like, oh, it's just insecurity. Like once he'll get used to it, Like it's fine.
What did you say to him in that moment?
Honestly, nothing. I just kind
Yeah.
of like submit to it because it was like, what am I going to do? You know what I mean?
Right.
It was more so of,
Well, you're also afraid it's going to be a bigger fight.
Right,
Like,
of course.
Because
Yeah.
you know he's going to yell, like, you know how he feels. So in that moment, it's like you're afraid to be like, well, wait, like I would want to do it. And then it's just, you know.
Right, then it's a bigger
Then it's a
fight.
big
Yeah.
fight.
And your
then
friends are there.
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know.
Oh God, he sounds awful.
Well, you know what? I hope Dance with the Stars comes
yeah.
calling now.
Honestly, I hope they're like, oh my God, we need
Yeah.
Kelley on Dancing with the Stars.
Yep. I agree.
And then she could focus on becoming a mother and a wife.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, man.
Oh my God.
Kelley, I think there are just so many great things ahead for you. I think there's a guy out there that is going to like prop you up
Right.
and tell you how amazing you are every single day.
I appreciate
And it's coming for you.
Absolutely.
you guys want to
100%.
know what's crazy is I'm just like, I'm just like so scarred from men right now. I was in Miami and I ran down the street. I was like in kind of pajamas and this guy starts like legit chasing me on the street. And I was just completely ruthless. He was like, hey, I want to talk to you. And I literally looked at him and I was like, do you just run after any girl on the street? Like, what are you doing?
Honestly, good for you.
Honestly,
though.
granted,
Like,
fair. I
if a
would be
guy's-
afraid just
yeah.
in general of someone running
Right.
after me on the street. Like
A guy running after you in the streets, like how often do you do this? How do you have the balls to just run up to someone on the
Yeah,
street?
yeah.
You got your reps in.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
exactly.
But no, I mean
No,
at this
there's-
point, like
yeah.
don't even. There's no reason to even focus on
No.
a man or getting a boyfriend or anything of that sort.
No.
It's like it's gonna find you at the right time.
Totally. Have
It's
fun,
like
go
time to
out,
just
flirt, enjoy life.
Focus on yourself and like take those moments back for you that you set aside while you were with him.
Yeah.
And
No,
all
I
of the
agree.
right things will fall into place. And we think you're awesome. We
do.
really do. And we appreciate that you trusted telling us this story. And I think a lot of people listening, a lot of our listeners will be able to, unfortunately, relate to this kind of situation. It is very unfortunate that it is a relatable situation in itself. But you just do you and don't worry about this guy. Block the number, ignore all the calls. He'll probably start calling after this podcast comes out. But that's unfortunately he paved the way for himself. You know?
Totally.
I agree. Thank you guys
Thanks,
for having
Yeah,
me.
thank
I
you,
appreciate
Kelley.
it. I do.